the old dictatorship, like you said, Michel Martelly was associated with the Duvalier dictators who ruled Haiti from the 50s to the 80s. When Duvalier troops or the Tonton Macoute, when they would commit crimes in Haiti, they would not be punished. That's a situation called impunity. Well, when the United Nations troops now commit sexual assaults against women or boys in Haiti, when cholera kills 7,500 people, nobody is held to account. And that is a situation of impunity. It's a situation of complete impunity. So if you look at control over Haitian affairs, if you look at impunity for crimes, this regime, this international regime that rules Haiti today, is a dictatorship by those definitions. Now, the fact that the elected government, sort of elected, right, because all of these irregularities were involved in the elections, there were the lowest turnouts in recent history anyway. But the fact that the elected government is connected to the old dictatorship just amplifies the point, I think.
But again, I mean, during those elections that took place in March 2011, there were some images that were very disturbing to Haitians, where Jean-Claude Duvalier, who was in exile for 25 years in France, returned just a couple of weeks before the elections, almost to the applause of the French and the Americans, when the same made a lot of effort to try to block the return of Jean-Bertrand Aristide, the democratically elected president that they had removed. And we see pictures of Jean-Claude Duvalier, Michel Martelly, and Bill Clinton shaking hands.
Yeah, I mean, and how much that I actually think those images were calculated as to disturb. It's an affront to the national dignity, right? It's a message that you're not in control. And I actually think that the symbolism is always a part of dictatorship, right? It's not, humiliating the people is a part of dictatorship, and that is a part of what Haiti's new dictatorship is about. And the unfortunate thing is the complete disconnect between what is being shown to Haitians in terms of these images and what the international community believes it's doing in Haiti. So a lot of people believe that the United Nations is doing stabilization and reconstruction and international aid, when in fact what they're doing is social control, national humiliation, and lining their own pockets in a way that's as corrupt as anything that the Duvalier did, really. I mean, it's above board, it's legal, but it's corrupt.
United Nations involvement is something that Canadians take great pride in. There's this whole mystique of Canada's participation in peacekeeping. How did that peacekeeping force get into Haiti? What is the legal justification for it?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. And let me just make one note about Canadian peacekeeping here, because Canadian peacekeeping was the invention. It's this very proud thing. United Nations peacekeeping was a Canadian invention. It was invented at the time of the Suez crisis in the 1950s. So Egypt had recently become independent. They wanted to nationalize their canal. The old colonial powers, the UK and France and Israel, actually attacked Egypt, and the United States, for various historical reasons, opposed that attack, mainly because they wanted to be the ones who controlled things in the Middle East. Canada stepped in and said, we're going to do peacekeeping, and Canada said, at the time, Canadian officials were very proud that they had kept the peace, not between Egypt and the people attacking Egypt, but between the United States and the United Kingdom. So in a way, peacekeeping has always been about keeping the peace between powerful countries and not about the countries in which the supposed peacekeeping is taking place. Now, on to the legal basis for the United Nations mission. Well, the United Nations mission has actually the most extreme mandate that a UN mission can have. It's a so-called Chapter 7 mandate, which gives them the right to actually engage in fighting and offensive actions as well. And the basis for that was that supposedly that the country was destabilized when Aristide was kidnapped. So it was a situation where Canada helped kidnap the elected leader, and then suddenly the place was ungovernable, and the United Nations had to go in. Now that pretext actually relatively quickly disappeared, and the United Nations came to recognize that story about keeping rival factions apart in a civil war situation was not really something anybody believed. So by 2005, when I went to Haiti for the first time, the UN had changed its story, and they were talking about how they were in Haiti in order to protect people from gangs, which is so preposterous because there are worse gang problems in many of the countries that are participating in the UN mission, including Brazil. So the idea that so all of the pretexts for their presence in Haiti are fairly weak and at times preposterous.
Now, tell us a bit about the Haitian participation in the coup, because in the past week we have stories about rich Haitians having been arrested as gang leaders leading kidnappings, yet like you mentioned, during the period of the coup, after the coup, the justification for the presence of the UN has been that they're fighting kidnappings organized in the poor neighborhoods that also happen to be pro-Aristide neighborhoods.